Oh, that looks radioactive. Generic intro into that goes. We're right back with another Scott Waz video. Today we're doing Player's Choice, which is apparently a thing that's just smacked on video games. But let's go ahead and jump into this very short Scott Waz video. Last week's video was game packaging, which next it could be collector's edition. I think next, maybe, I don't know. It was I had the choice between the two of these.
Hey y'all, Scott here, and welcome, marketing rats. This is Marketing 101, the 101st edition of our marketing tutorials. Today I'm going to show you how to successfully market that Nintendo GameCube game that you're selling in 2018.
Slap
Thanks for
Player's Choice on it.
Of marketing with me today. If
and
you
it
choose
sells.
to purchase our next video release, I'll show you how to put a down payment on a house with just your signature on this piece of paper.
Pyramid scheme.
Yeah,
okay,
I was
well,
in the video and even following the directions. I don't know why. I came out with bread. Mankind has
There's
achieved
no
a
bread
multitude
in
of
my
amazing
house.
things, putting a man on the moon, the Great Pyramids, the continuous evolution of the sciences, but for some reason they made Player's Choice f***ing yellow, so might as well start over. Listen, I do dig a hardy video game from time to time, and a good portion of that dig ratio is definitely playing said hardy video game. But once you're done playing it and put it back on the shelf, that's how it'll look for the majority of your life, sitting there. Mainly serving as a conversation piece or incredibly expensive decor until you decide to pop it back in again. So I usually really do care on how the spine of a video game looks. I mean, I never won't buy a game because the spine is screech-inducing, but whenever I pick up a new title, the spine is one of the first things to look at because, well, that's how it'll look like when it's on my shelf. And let me tell you, I can't get enough of that darn consistency. If a video game
we covered that last video.
All line up with each other, oh boy, there's truly no other feeling like it. I know, I've talked scoliosis enough in the past. I'll make this little spine tangent as brief as I can possibly make a spine tangent. Take the PS4 games, for example. They all have the same PS4 headers followed by a custom spine featuring the game logo and art. The fact that they all have their own custom art and logos with the same PS4 header, wow. Similar situation with the Wii. Most game boxes are all white with the custom game logos.
This is the older video.
They just look really nice altogether. Yeah, some games have custom colored boxes like New Super Mario Bros. Wii's red one and Mario and Sonic at the London 2012 Olympic Games' yellow one. And while I would have preferred these boxes to be white like the rest, I can
also
live
the
with
thing
these.
on the top of the
PS3
boxes
feel like special games.
Was
the pixel litter
to like tell them
to
to
make
apart
stand
from
out from the
Blu-ray,
rest.
I think,
Now,
or something like
20%
that.
of the Wii library
also
had a
had
red case.
PS3 on
That's
it.
when it would get a little on the too far side of things. When a good chunk of a game console's library has one specific design compared to the rest, the world's flipping pissometers all collectively burst. The first half of the PS3's life had spines like these, and then they decided to switch the logo to something completely different. I do prefer the second logo, but man, if you alphabetize your games like I do, you just buy yourself a ticket to inconsistency jungle, an attraction that's borderline irritating. The Wii U's spines, however, were deservingly absent from the nominations at the Spinies years 2012 through 2017. They obviously tried to make them all consistent, but
except for the one that's like
they
green.
continually kept on flip-flopping between stock generic fonts and actual game logos. Like, why does Mario Tennis Ultra Smash, Star Fox Zero, and Game & Wario have their own logos, but then Splatoon, Captain Toad Treasure Tracker, and New Super Mario Bros. U have this generic font? Then they allowed Capcom and Square Enix to make one game each with a black spine for some reason, and then they made Star Fox Guard's box have this eggnog stain of a color. Nintendo even forgot
all of them
to
are
add
like
the
that?
blue ridge on the top of the Wii Sports Club box. I do prefer having colorful spines that feature art from the game and the game's logo, but if a game console library spines are one way, game publishers, please follow in everybody else's footsteps. The Nintendo Switch library sees the majority of games use the same font on a red background.
Why does that one not have Nintendo on it?
While that doesn't leave a lot of room for creativity, it looks nice on a shelf. Except we have troublemakers in the form of Super Bomberman R. God, what is
he mentioned that one.
Not only is the title centered instead of left aligned like every other Switch game, but why is Konami's logo like this?
And there's no Nintendo.
Overall, I like some consistency in my game boxes. Is it OCD? Well, as somebody who unknowingly has OCD would say, I don't know. So please take this into consideration when I paint this picture in your head.
Whatever it does, that makes me
reprinted for look
up all these statistics
prices.
for 2 hours
straight.
straight.
But I had myself at, so please take this into consideration. But there's a catch.
Kirby Air Ride. Okay, the yellow. Okay. It reminds me of the, Xbox games that had the Xbox Live thing on it.
People hold up in mugshots. Player's Choice, Greatest Hits, Platinum Hits, Nintendo Select, Sega All-Stars. They go by many names but serve one purpose: to muck up anybody's up-and-coming game collection and turn them into something foul.
Was Platinum Hits like if it sold a certain amount of copies,
I made a
it
huge
went
mistake
platinum?
making that observation.
Like records?
The concept of these re-releases is great, being hit games at a price where they're practically giving them away. But they all mess it up hard by ruining the packaging with different colors, graphics, designs,
the whole point
whatever.
is to look different.
They stick out like a sore thumb. Since these were re-releases, these are the most current prints of these games, meaning a lot of the time they're everywhere. They're the easiest to find, and every single major game company had their own line of these re-releases, and they all made sure they were eyesores for some reason. And the terminal
to make them note they look different.
Sega Classics on the Sega Genesis. Sega Classics aren't
Which
super
did they just
awful,
take the
mainly
box
because
art
the
and
Genesis
put
games
in
themselves
round
don't follow a
and
strict
red
format.
border?
While many have the black grid or the red design, many don't at all and have their own custom one. It always felt weird to me that you were supposed to keep the Genesis cases due to their hard plastic, yet there was so much variation in the box art layout. While the SNES boxes were all incredibly unified in terms of design, yet Nintendo didn't expect you to put them on a shelf and keep them. They were just cardboard boxes. They were born to be thrown away.
Which you learned in the last video. This is like a follow-up to that.
Super Nintendo and Game Boy were the first appearances of the term Player's Choice. Making
million seller.
Games, Super Mario All-Stars, A Link to the Past, and Super Metroid a measly
Still never played Zelda.
Is awesome. And the way they went about these re-releases on the SNES
$20
was tolerable
games.
in my opinion. The cartridges now have a Player's Choice ribbon graphic on them, and the line on the label changed from red to golden. Not a big issue in my opinion. I mean, A Link to the Past re-release is uproariously apparent you have the re-release, but the majority of Player's Choice on SNES ain't that bad.
Is it the little
same goes for
circle on the bottom?
N64. Nintendo did a very similar thing with these re-releases, just popping a ribbon graphic on
I think I had the
them.
original one of
I
that.
would definitely pick up the original copies, but in my opinion, if you have the Player's Choice copies of SNES and N64 games, I won't completely disregard you. Now, Game Boy
completely, at least?
God, these boxes looked hard. Literally, they couldn't just stop at a ribbon graphic. They had to change the entire game. Thankfully, the cartridge itself only has the ribbon on it, but was this really necessary?
Covering Kirby
However,
of all
Nintendo
places.
decided that wasn't enough and decided to go full-on sociopath with Player's Choice on GameCube.
Big
this
yellow.
is horrendous. Replacing the black labels with yellow ones. The front box art and spine
and then also has on the bottom.
It could have been worse. But come on, they could have chosen any other color. They chose yellow. The only thing I can think of for the reasoning behind the hard color change is that Nintendo believed that consumers would be attracted to the yellow, as it would yell to them saying, "Hey, I'm a best-selling game at a crazy low price."
I'm gold.
The thing is, I don't
expensive.
think any
I'm
consumer
fancy.
knew why these games were yellow, and I think if anybody had an option, they'd go with the
Just
black
eye-catching
games because that fits snugly with the rest of their collection. Also, from what I've heard, games can't yell. It's like Nintendo has a mentality: when a consumer sees a Player's Choice title, they
like,
know they're in for gallons of joy at a price
I must
to die
get
for.
this.
No! Nobody thinks that. Just the fact that these games are at a low price should be enough to grab a consumer's attention. Why'd they have to smear yellow all over the place? And at that point, why not just add a graphic to the front cover and call it a day? Why the spine?
Yeah, the spine's still
see
dumb.
In most retailers. Why does it have to be obliterated in this process?
Yeah, I don't
the
get
Game Boy
that
Advance
one.
had the right idea. It had the same Player's Choice graphic, but it was only on the front cover and nowhere else.
Good.
Not on the spine of
They
the
didn't
box.
change
And
the
even
Game Boy
then,
Advance logo
most
either.
people threw the GBA boxes away, so with these things, I would have been more than okay with the disease spreading to the spine. But nope, they had to put it on their home console with cases people actually kept. Even though I hate the yellow Player's Choice label with a passion, I'm still stuck wondering who got it worse, the US or Europe? Huh. Nintendo moved on from Player's Choice and now refers to their budget gaming line as Nintendo Select.
Why is it called
starting
budget
with the
gaming?
Wii and continuing on with the 3DS.
Because they're just re-releases?
These, I'm way more into. The
That's
spines
cool.
only
Little
have
banner.
a small medallion on the bottom, and that's cool with me. It's not jarring, and many games have a graphic on the bottom like this anyway, so it doesn't stick out hard. I mean, if I have the option, I definitely trade these out for the original prints, but I don't have a problem sleeping at night with these games in my collection. Japan never got Nintendo Selects or even Player's Choice. Instead, they have the Happy Price selection for the 3DS.
Happy Price,
which,
it's so much
if
better.
you want to feel like you're buying a puppet show instead of a game, the Happy Price selection has you covered. The Nintendo DS
Yes.
had a Nintendo managed budget software lineup, but that didn't stop Konami
I don't think I've ever seen the
from
blue
releasing
one.
their own games under their own ultra packaging. This is the kind of box art that raises more questions than answers. The disease spreads further. Sony is just as guilty of these types of packaging. PlayStation uses the moniker Greatest Hits, and the PS1 had this ooze onto the front cover. Honestly,
that looks
this isn't
radioactive.
my least favorite in the world. It's not good by any means, but it looks far nicer than what the PS2 got. Jesus, man, who in the right mind said
red.
burgundy? How is this color appealing?
Burgundy's
to
just
anybody
navy
below the
age of
red.
80?
And why is the header now curved? PS3, we have
consistency.
red. Better than the PS2, but still not the greatest in the world, because now the case is red too. Speaking of red, Sega had one more crack at the re-releases with the Dreamcast in the form of Sega All-Stars, which are basically less annoying forms of the
Also,
PS1
why is it just
greatest
creeping
hits?
more
But
into it already
we
the...
still have this monstrosity to go over.
with the logo
Xbox's
creeping in
Platinum
with...
hits. Microsoft made sure you damn well knew you had a Platinum Hits copy of a game, as the entirety of the box is coded in this thing.
And
the header,
platinum.
the box art itself has a border, the spine, including where the game logo is. It's just cream to bits. I mean, at least it's silver, which is a pretty conservative and nice looking color.
It looks good, like in that one does.
Others, but at least it's not.
I don't know if I have any Platinum Hits
black
games.
Or burgundy compared to black. I don't know. I don't like these at all, but I still have.
I think I got that
Player's Choice
for
and
GTA 4
generation.
I think I did.
Don't worry, everybody. Microsoft redeemed themselves in terms of not.
I got that like a year before
let's
GTA
talk
5
about the
came out.
Xbox 360 generation, where they had so many different designs for Platinum Hits games. It's hard to keep track of. The first design was.
I watched KRS Feeding the Crew play GTA 4.
Spine where the game's
never been introduced to GTA.
This gray thing.
It was like, oh, it looks fun. Then get it and like,
it doesn't really
this isn't
stick
that
out
fun.
that much in comparison to other games. Then they change it to this, where Platinum Hits spreads to the header and enlarge the spine's header as well. This one is gross. I hate the fact that the 360 header on the spine is way longer than it needs to be. After this, there were a
Portal 2 on the Xbox
that just had a simple logo on the front cover with nothing else, and my god, this is how you do it.
Yeah.
Just a little graphic on the
you
front
don't notice
fine.
that though.
It's perfect.
It's down at the bottom that you
complaints,
don't pay attention to.
went
No
back
one
to the
does.
drawing board and came back with this. What is this?
It's a spine.
So the header is the same elongated one from before, but now with a gradient from gray to white. I never liked how the text was in white, so it got harder and harder to read against the gradient. But
contrast.
Why? Why is the spine white with the most stock generic font imaginable?
For Mass Effect 2.
For this. Why does it look this way? Recently, Microsoft has re-released Xbox 360 games that are backwards compatible with the Xbox One in this new packaging that looks like the Xbox One boxes, but absolutely not at the same time. I hate these too. Like, why not put a graphic on the original releases that just says playable on Xbox One? Instead, you have it clash with the rest of your
because
Xbox
they're probably
library,
already making. They're not making any more cases for
Xbox 360 doesn't look right next
Xbox
to the rest
360
of the games.
games.
Xbox One, same thing because it's a standard.
They'd have to make a new
compared to
case.
the Blu-ray size cases of the Xbox One. There is no reason
now they
why
can just
these
make
re-releases
orders
should
for
stick
just
out this
the
badly. And you know what's even worse?
Xbox
Some
One
games were
cases?
exclusively released in this packaging. Pikmin 2's Wii release
I think
took
I
a
played
while to
Pikmin
get
2
here in North America, and when it did, Nintendo slapped a Nintendo Selects border on it. Why?
I don't know
This
which
game was
Pikmin
never
game I
released
played.
in North America. How can it already
Oh,
be
maybe I
Nintendo
played Pikmin
Select?
3 then.
Some people go for complete sets of these re-releases, and you know, that must
But
be a fun thing
I
to
kept
collect.
losing
Good on
Pikmin and
those
make me
people.
sad,
But for
so I
everybody
stopped
else,
playing.
if you just wanted to play Super Mario Sunshine
It
and
made
have
me
the
real
player's
sad,
choice
actually.
copy, it looks janker than jank next to the rest of your games, and it doesn't need to be. They didn't have to change the look of the spines. They didn't have to change the color of the cases. They could have just popped a graphic on the front that said bestseller,
but nobody would notice.
MSRP, and call it a day. But the fact that they went the extra mile deserves a solid shake of the fist. And thus, it was torn, it being that, because that tears it. I'm gonna form a strongly worded verbal letter to Nintendo about these roadkills of re-releases.
What is this video? 7 years!
Hey, Nintendo! Why do you have to make Player's Choice so lame?
Well, sir, it was the player's choice.
I'm the problem?
Oh, God. We did this.
Nice. Very, very, very good videos. Let me know what the next one should be. Whether it should be, I think, limited edition, I think is what the other one was suggested. They both had similar amounts of likes when I went to check it. Because like I said, I read every single one of your comments. And when I go to decide what the next Scott the Waz video is, which is usually when I'm editing the Monday video, which usually is done Thursday night. Yes, I try to get ahead as much as I possibly can. But, I had to like go and look at it. I'm like, okay, we're gonna do that, and then I get to Saturday when I record. I'm like, okay, what Scott the Waz video that I signed up to do? And it was Player's Choice. So really enjoyed this. This is kind of interesting to see how they like implemented it over time. It's not something I ever really paid attention to. I always thought Player's Choice is kind of like cool, as in like also shout out to the patrons. I thought it was cool, just kind of like a special edition. As someone that's been collecting cards since 2006, like sports cards, it's kind of like a parallel of, you know, a sports card or an insert, which back in the day, inserts used to be a big deal. Nowadays, nobody wants inserts. Everybody wants like the bog standard card, unless it's an autograph or a patch or something like that, or numbered. But yeah, I thought it was like a special edition, like a limited edition kind of, you know, this is like a rare version. But in video games, the older it is, typically the more rare and more desirable and more expensive or more valuable that it is. So not quite the same, but I always thought it was cool. I didn't really mind. Some of those are just horribly implemented, that is for sure. But let me know if you have any other like instances where Player's Choice, or, you know, they did something wonky for some reason. And let me know what your opinion is of the Player's Choice, whether or not you like, which ones did you like the most? Whether you like the GameCube, Xbox, PlayStation, Sega, Dreamcast, any of that, which I think Sega made the Dreamcast, right? I'm not really sure. But I really hope you have a wonderful rest of the day. I hope to subscribe. But until the next video, take care and keep the music.
We were playing